So I need a motion to approve the agenda for today.
So moved. I'll second it.
All in favor? Approval of minutes of previous council meetings, regular meeting of February 14, 2022. Are there any questions? I don't hear any questions. Can I have a motion to approve this meetings for February 14?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
The next one is approval of minutes of the closed meeting of council, February 24. Any questions? Motion?
I'll make the motion to accept the closed door meeting of council on February 24th.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Conflict of interest declarations? I see no conflicts, so noted. Delegations, Tony Cook. You want?
Just before the meeting today, Mr. Cook said he would not be able to attend, but he would like to present to council in the April meeting.
Okay, yeah. We'll move on to general reports. General governor report. Jason.
General government report for the month of March, February-March. So the lower bridge sewage line installation work, we're still kind of waiting the go-ahead from DTI. This has been going back and forth for some time. So we have the engineering drawings, and we've submitted them to DTI. DTI has come back with another couple of questions on the load of the bridge. So this is the same scaffolding company that would have done work on the bridge just last year or so. And now they're questioning whether the scaffolding can, the bridge can support the scaffolding. So we'd like to get this moving along as soon as possible, but again, we need the go-ahead, the green light from DTI to get this moving. So again, we've gone back to the engineer to answer some of the questions. Academic Place, we did some repairs on the ceiling. We were just looking at that tonight. May have to get just another coat of paint on that at least, and we'll be monitoring the roof for any further leaks. Capital projects, we're nearly finalized the capital estimates on various projects for the town for 2020. Paving costs are volatile due to the changing cost of petroleum. I think everyone can understand the cost of gas is changing all the time, so that does affect paving cost. Dangerous unsightly premises. We do have one file that is receiving a permit for demolition actually this week, so that file will be closed. Canal Beach, the permits have been issued for the septic field, and tenders were issued for 2 of the 3 project areas. And talking to two of those contractors today, they hope to start work this over the next couple of weeks. So we're still targeting for a June opening date for the renovations of Canal Beach. Walking trail, public tender for all the trail construction has been posted and is receiving interest. We've fielded a number of calls from contractors asking about the trail. Day Adventure Center, we will be holding a March the 23rd open site or open door view of the Day Adventure Center, so any interested parties that would like to use a building certainly should contact the town hall. That's March the 23rd from 1 to 2 p.m. Annual financial audit, we are now working on the financial audit for 2021. Town debt, as part of the financial work for the move to local government reform, the town's debt overview is $1.85 million for 2023 onward, and the bulk of that debt is $1.18 million of the new water tower. The new water tower will extend debt repayment until 2046. The majority of the debt is going to fall off pretty much at 2025, so we're very good with debt. The Goody, it's a groundwater under the direct influence study. It's actually on agenda for tonight. We've been having discussions with the province on that. Road repair and site work, as weather provides, we're repairing potholes as well as some site work on properties, town-owned development properties, doing some ground leveling on exit the 52 site and drainage work at the Brunswick property as well. Bylaws, so we are working with the planners for the draft of the municipal plan. We're still awaiting a developer to update his proposal for the apartment building multi-unit development off Brunswick Street. Hope to have something there soon. Mayor and staff have been working with CHCO on developing some promotional videos for the town. Hope to have those finalized soon as well. Hillcrest repair work was completed. I think it's outlined here in some of the reports tonight. This was the dip at the Hillcrest subdivision. There was a service line servicing a house that was eroded and leaking. We're going to complete that work in the spring to replace the full service line to that house, at least to get it across the road. Community garden, the evening of March the 23rd, next week, the town will host a community gardening meeting. Anyone that's interested in having a plot this year, let's contact the town hall. The gazebo, the Main Street Park, the town is seeking quotes on reshingling the roof of the gazebo. We've received some quotes just under $4,000. A number of residents' complaints, most of them are relating to snow plowing. Snow does have to go somewhere, unfortunately. It does go up against, whether it's trees or when it gets off the road, causes some concerns. And then it makes potholes, which are another complaint that we get. The crew has been keeping ahead of that for the most part. And the road area in the entrance to the grocery store, actually had a talk just today with Daniel LeBlanc on just his concern with that. So that is actually on the list of capital projects that we're going to look at, doing some renovations there. That's it for local government.
Thank you. Question, please. Start from here.
I do have a question around the ground leveling at exit 52. So I noticed that there's a lot of fill that was put in there. I don't, and maybe I'm just mistaken, but I don't recall us having a very large budget to do that. Like, where are the funds coming from to put that amount of work on that particular site?
Yep. So we've got a number of budget lines. One is road work. There's also site development budgets that we have. The fill that was brought in there was actually fill that we had in storage at the lagoon.
Okay.
So we had a bunch of fill there that was it was rough fill. So that was mostly brought over there. And there was a lot of fill that was there, just mostly required to the excavator is going to be the majority of the cost.
Okay. So what is the budget for that again?
We have $15,000 in pretty much road work.
And site work.
Yeah, site work, exactly, yeah.
Okay.
So that particular one, how much would be gonna be?
How much overall will it be? We're thinking around $2,000 for just use of an excavator per
Okay.
time, yeah.
And the truck? You would need a truck, right?
Truck to haul, yeah,
Yeah.
we've done some hauling, yeah.
Yeah.
Other questions?
That's good.
Quick questions. How much gonna spend extra for that scaffolding and the negotiation with the DTI?
I don't have a number at this point. I mean, it's, to re-engage the engineer to do additional questioning, I'm sure there's gonna be a cost. I'm gonna be contacting him tomorrow to see what that actually looks like. So if it's just something simple as providing data that he already has, and just didn't put on the drawings, that may be one thing, but to actually go in and does it require a load study, a full study of the bridge? That may start to get into a few $1,000s for sure.
More expensive, actually can get very expensive.
It could, exactly. And again, that's why, my remarks, I said that, it's the same company that did the work to the lower bridge. They would have done a load study at that time for scaffolding.
Yes.
So, we're not talking about that.
Have they
much
done
later.
it? Have they done that study before?
I don't know, DTI. I mean, they may have, but they have not provided anything to us. It's their bridge, so.
Okay, my second question is, we're expecting the letter of Mount Pleasant from the province, right?
For the municipal designated highway?
Yes.
We should, yeah, we've looked at it, and I think previous years, we've had a response from the minister the first week of March. So we're pretty much there now. So we should be getting something this week or next week. It is, yeah.
And I just noticed about the quotes for the canal beach have changed a bit. Do you have a fixed price, or, I mean, we are working with a $300,000 budget.
Yeah, we're working 360,000
Yes.
for the budget, so, you know, they have changed a bit, that's for sure. That's why we haven't gone ahead with the third area of that contract for contractors, which is more of a retaining wall. We want to ensure that we get the building done with the bathrooms, that's the primary, and then some of the land work. So once we're comfortable with those two pieces of project and they fall within budget, then we'll go for the third piece. But I don't want to jump into the third piece and be over budget. There's no opportunity to be over budget on this. This is, it's all funded 100% by the provincial gas tax fund for that LSD. We certainly don't want to have to go over budget.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Any other questions? No.
I do have one.
Go ahead.
In regards to March 23rd, the open door site for the Day Adventure Center, do we have an idea what we're charging per month on that? What are our expectations on that?
Yeah, as of right now, it's still with what council thought for last year was $200. So that still stands as of right now. That's still what shows on the license of occupation, so.
So with that, are we prepared as landlords to secure the buildings up enough so people's product is not going to get stolen?
Part of the license of occupation does outline that that's a responsibility of the tenant.
Of the
So,
tenant?
Of the tenant.
So a tenant could put new doors on?
They could, right, yes, yeah.
Okay.
And do some other
And
alterations like
other
that.
alterations
Yeah.
to the building?
Yeah.
Is there perimeters that we have on that,
Perimeters?
like, for example, new windows?
To go to that, to the extent of new windows, that's a possibility as well. I guess we'd have to look at their proposal. Everyone that's interested, we're asking them to submit a proposal, and part of that proposal would be to sort of outline what renovations they want to do.
Okay.
We don't want them to get too deep into doing renovations for such a short amount of time.
Do you have many people interested? Do you know?
Right now, there's two that are very serious, at least one for sure, so, yeah.
Okay, let's move to the next one, EMO status.
Thank you, Worship. So for EMO, so as of up until this weekend, we were at level 1 active monitoring as a town EMO. So that has now been removed. So we're just back to a normal level here with the town. The province has removed all restrictions as of today. And upon return to normal, we've ended our status. As of Friday, these numbers are a little bit older, but as of Friday, there was 3,963 active cases in New Brunswick and 101 hospitalizations, and unfortunately 316 deaths in relation to COVID.
Questions on NBMO? Okay. Thank you. Update on local government reform.
Thank you, Worship. So local government reform, still lots of discussions within the committees and the facilitator dealing with council composition. That's the number of councillors that will be in this new entity. Trying to finalize that number and what that looks like. Could be a composition of 7 councillors. Maybe out of that, there's a couple that are at large, and as well the mayor. We're also trying to finalize boundary lines, external boundary lines of this entity from Diggity Wash River to Pokalogan River, as north as Lee Settlement, and taking in all of Back Bay to the south. Still finalizing that. And then within boundary, with other lines are ward lines. So these, the wards that would be within this new entity, trying to finalize that. So there's still lots of discussion on those 2 points. And now, newer subject is the entity name. That is That's lots of discussion there as well. And I just say, a couple of things that the committee's trying to keep in the forefront is the possibility of financial funding for a new administration building. The province has said there is capital funds that are available. We'd certainly be interested to know what those are. And the possible properties being transferred from the province to the new entity. So those could be properties such as fire halls, for example. Number of fire halls that are now LSDs, so is the property going to be transferred to the new entity? There's also a number of different parks, parkland. For example, right now there's a park that's in Penfield that's owned by the province. Will that be passed to the new entity? So lots of discussion, still lots of questions, and hopefully things will start moving along here fairly soon.
Thank you.
I have a question. Is there a way that I could get on the mailing list of this?
Mailing list for,
The information that's being discussed?
yeah, you can certainly shareable. I think you can probably, whip through the mayor and I think the Councillor Rubin as well.
I think our council members allowed to attend.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. In fact, if you like to be,
Not committee.
Same
No.
on committees.
No council?
No.
uh,
Okay.
it's a very funny situation. Let me just to inform the council. It's a very funny situation in the sense that certain entities had trouble even getting a representative, and after some time they got one. Then we are now having almost every entity having 2 representatives. Some of them they still have not brought 2. My understanding is that all the information that's coming out from the facilitator is supposed to be disseminated both to the council and to the public. There is no, I guess, any confidential, privileged information in the communication that he is sending in PDF formats. We have not engaged in any sort of negotiation with the province on any of this, or any consultation with the public, and that is the critical thing. Like even on the governance structures that are proposed, and they gave us 3 different structures. All the councillors at large, 6 at large and 6 wards and 2 at large, or all at large. These are 3 models that they are floated out there. But the only thing that they told us is that each ward should have about 1,500 people or so. And these are the parameters that the province give us. Beyond that, we have never been able to actually either send something back or it's a situation where the province tells us what we can do, and that's about it. But I can certainly give you the PDFs.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, let's move on to the next subject. Fire report. Chief.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. Slide back a little bit. For the month of February, as compared to the month of January, it was a little slower. We had 5 incidents, nothing too major. One of those both of those structure fires happened on the same evening, and the fire that we talked about last month, they're reflected here in this report. So nothing that we haven't already talked about, I guess. Training, a lot going on in training. There always is this time of year. We're continuing with Firefighter 1 on Tuesdays and Thursday evenings. St. George and Bonnie River Fire Department did the TMR Regional Fire Dispatch Training for our new radio system that went into effect on March 1st. So we've had one emergency since we went over onto that system. The guys are still getting used to it. There's a lot to think about. switching channels and things like that that we didn't have to do before. So we're gonna spend some time working on that in-house, so that everybody's clear on what they're supposed to do. I'll talk a little bit more about that as we go along. I'm going to a meeting tomorrow in Fredericton with the Fire Service Training Advisory Committee. I sit on that committee. We discuss training issues for the whole province. We finally got the 3-pagers that I ordered in August or September. We finally got those. But we've had other ones crash since then, so that's the cycle, right? Bunker gear. Typically, we get 3 to 4 sets per year. I would say 3 is going to be adequate, and we might even be able to get away with 2, but I've got to look into that. It just depends on the year, and we've got one new person this year that needs some for sure. We'll look into that. Hopefully, we'll be able to keep that number down because we can obviously use those dollars for other things that I've mentioned. The Scba cylinders. So we bought a bunch of air packs. Well, it's getting on 15 years ago now, and at that time we got cylinders with them. The air packs are good for 20 years. Sometimes you can stretch them a little bit longer with upgrades if you retrofit them and upgrade them. But the cylinders themselves, 15 years and they're done. So as I've listed, we've got a few this year, a few more next year, and a bunch more after that. At the better part of $2,000 a piece, they can burn up my whole budget just on those cylinders. Not to mention air packs are $15,000 a piece, and we're going to be looking at those at some point. We did have a grant for one, but as I mentioned in here, when it comes to air packs, every seat in the truck has to have an air pack in order to meet the standard. The 4 apparatus that we run have 15 seats. We do not have 15 air packs. And of the 12 or 13 that we have, some of them are getting close to timing out. So we'll have to look at that a little bit deeper and see where we are, but perhaps some of these cylinders could be taken care of in a capital purchase. If we had to buy some air packs or something like that down the road, we could lump some of these cylinders in with it, but we'll have to look at it a little bit further. We have no plans to make a capital purchase of air packs for this year, so the 4, I believe, that expire this year, those will have to be replaced and soon. We'll talk more about air packs and cylinders as we go along, I guess. I'll get you more information. Laptop, I still don't have a laptop.
I thought you had it replaced.
I thought you got a whole new one.
Yeah.
Well, I did, but that lasted about a week, and that was months ago now.
Oh.
They said they were going to replace it, but I don't have it. So that was, I don't know, 7 weeks ago. So, anyways.
Bottom line, it hasn't been replaced
The
yet.
bottom line, it hasn't been replaced yet. I'll give Kev credit. He somehow managed to get the old one to work well enough so that I can access the internet to do my reports to the fire marshal's office, and I've got webmail on there so that I can go in and check my email, but I've lost all my contacts and everything like that. And I have as I mentioned in here, I have an old one from a past life that I revived that has Microsoft Word and Microsoft Excel, very old versions that I'm able to do your report and my payroll with. So I'm managing, but not very well. It will come. I have faith it will come. Switch over from St. Stephen Dispatch, as I mentioned, occurred on March 1st. As I mentioned earlier, we're adjusting to the intricacies of operating within that new system. We have 5 portables here in the town, and we have 2 portable radios in Bonnie River. The only way to answer St. John Dispatch, or Comm Center as we call them, is through one of those radios. So one of those is allocated for the driver on call. The two captains, the deputy chief, and myself have the other 4. The deputy chief's not in town right now. I don't know where the two captains are. They might be, they might not be. They could be gone to get groceries in St. Stephen. Who knows? There could be 1, there could be 3 in town right now. But during the day, I can tell you there was only 2, as long as one of them didn't leave town. So you see where we're going here. I could answer it from St. Stephen and say, yeah, we got the message, but you don't want to answer and say you got the message if you're not going to get the truck, because you don't know if somebody's really going to get it. So we need more TMR radios, long story short. They're not cheap either, so I could spend the whole budget with what we've got on this list very easily, and we're only in March, so I guess that's just the way it is. So there should never be a surplus in the fire department budget at the end of the year, I guess is what I'm getting. There's always something that we could be buying that if we get it this year, we won't have to get it next year type thing, so. Because these cylinders that are running out now, if there was dollars left, we could have bought 1 or 2 maybe last year, and that alleviates the load. And I'm not, just for future reference, with fire, we don't have a lot, and to run a fire department is expensive, and this stuff is, some of it is, we have no choice. If I take those cylinders to a place that fills cylinders, they won't fill them, and they shouldn't fill them, okay? So, and we need them. So, that's enough on that. Well, I don't think I have anything more to say as a result of my report. If anybody's got any questions, I'll gladly try and answer them.
You mentioned about the batteries, that you needed extra batteries because of the longevity of the charge. Have you put in an order for any of the batteries yet? I mean,
No.
you have a budget, so
Yeah,
can you
no.
go ahead and order something like that?
Yeah, I will get some batteries. I mean, they're not cheap, but
No, I
that's,
realize that.
we can do that. And it's unfortunate that it's the way it is. It's just the way these radios work. They're more like a cell phone. The old style radios, the only time they drew any power is when somebody talked and it was receiving or transmitting. The new style, they're looking for the nearest tower, so they're always burning power. And then when you do start talking, if you get on a fire scene and you really start using it, they crash.
So
So-
how many did you say you thought you needed or would need?
Well, I would need at least 1 for each portable, and we've got 7 portables right now.
And
so.
what's the average cost of each battery?
They're $150, somewhere around there, give or
So
take, so.
do you have the budget right now that you could go out and get
Oh,
7
yeah,
or 8 of those?
absolutely, absolutely. I can get some batteries and things like that, but I don't know if.
I know you don't wanna
I don't know if
spend-
we're gonna be able to do all these things.
No, I know you don't want to
That's the
spend
problem.
all your
Yeah,
budget,
right.
but if you could even get, say,
Yeah.
5
Yeah.
of the 8 batteries or
Yeah,
4
and-
of the 8.
And I'll look at, because it depends on the user, whether they're gonna have it turned on or just have it with them. The driver on call, obviously, on the weekend, he's gonna have to have a battery with them, because last week it was our first weekend on call, and the driver called me at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and he was somewhere, he said, my radio just died, what do I do? Well, you're dead in the water until you get it home and get it in the charger, so I went on call, right? To cover for him until he could get home and get it charged up. Well, if he happened to be working or something like that, then, he might not be able to get there, so.
Could
It's a pain in the arse, because now they're gonna have to lug a battery with them in their car or something,
Yeah.
and they're gonna get lost, or they're gonna, but it is what it is.
I know you're really busy, like my favorite expression, busier than a one-armed paper hanger, but is there somebody in the administration, in the office, that could help you get quotes on these batteries or order them for you?
Well, a lot of time they do. They do all the ordering. I don't do any ordering. Getting the quotes, not a big deal. It's just coming to an agreement that this is what we need and that's what we're gonna do, and they're good that way.
Okay.
But-
No, I was just curious, because it sounds like that's a pretty vital thing. You gotta have batteries.
Yeah, we need batteries, and we'll make that work. But yeah.
I have 3 questions. The 2 are very short-lived. short, but the other one is a bit more complex. The first one is the cylinders cannot be recertified.
They do. We recertify them every 5 years until they're 15 years old, and then they're gone.
So 15 years,
15 years in.
you cannot pressure test them.
Nope, you're
Okay,
done.
I did not know that.
The old steel cylinders, you could.
Oh, they are not sealed.
The
Okay,
steel, these are carbon fiber cylinders.
okay, I got you,
The
I got
steel
you, I got
cylinders,
you.
like the dye tanks and stuff like
Yeah,
that, you
yeah.
can
You can, yeah,
extend the
yeah.
life further.
Okay. The second thing is, are we ready for grass fires this year?
Oh, we're ready.
You're ready.
It'll be here real soon.
I know, that's why
Actually, we've already had one.
that's why I'm asking.
We ignored it.
Okay. And I'm going to my last question, which is a bit more complicated. Government reform. In the new entity 53, there is Bonny River, Penfield, Back Bay, Blacks Harbor, us. Have you started engaging with the other fire chiefs about what that means? Because one of the areas where potentially there can be benefits from an amalgamation is services that each one of us has, and potentially you can find some savings in there.
Mm-hmm.
Have you started having any discussions with them, like sit down on a table around and see?
Yeah, we've had, there's 3 chiefs that run those 5 stations that you're talking about. And we've had discussions. We had planned to get together, to have more formal discussions, and then COVID got in the way. It's gone through a lot of the families here in town. So, we're just getting back around to it. We have some ideas, of course, but, I mean, it's tricky.
The reason for which I'm saying that is that within a few months, very soon, we'll start having budgets, planning a budget for we are supposed to actually design the budget of the new entity. And at least if you can get together and think if there are any ways that essentially the 5 departments or the 3 chiefs can find any common things and save, now is the time. Because, from what I understand, that is one of the areas where potentially people can try to see where we can actually get some savings.
There are opportunities there. I don't know whether you will be able to see that in the first year. I highly doubt it. It's going to take time to form leadership, both within the fire service and the municipal part of it, or the management of it, and build those relationships where the independent entities are going to realize that their budgets are not their budgets anymore, and it's one pool. And there are efficiencies like cylinders and things like that. Perhaps instead of each fire department having to have 40, and you've got 3 departments, instead of having 120, we could probably do with 60 combined. But then you have to have an apparatus that's dedicated to bring them to where they are. Okay, so that you may have a truck that's sitting in Back Bay that's got 30 cylinders on it, but if there's a fire in Blacks Harbor, that truck is going to have to go to Blacks Harbor to bring the cylinders to it. These things, we can't even get the name figured out and stuff like that. We got all kinds of things we got to figure out before we can get that far into the weeds to figure those things out, and that's going to take a few years. But absolutely, there are efficiencies. The same with buying bunker gear. We have to keep a certain amount of spare stuff kicking around in case you get a new member, or I go out tonight and rip the arm off. I've got to have something to put back on, so we have to keep a certain amount of that. Well, that certain amount could be shared between the 3 departments. So instead of me having to have 8 spare sets, and Blacks has got 8 spare sets, and Back Bay's got 6 spare sets, well, if we had 10 or 12 spare sets between us, kept in a central location that we could go and draw from, then that's a little bit less bunker gear that you've got sitting on a shelf. And the same with boots and helmets and gloves and all of those things. But that we won't get that resolved between now and budget time. I can assure you that. But it can happen over time.
Any other questions?
I do. The cylinders. So you're saying 3 are going to be expiring soon, or 4?
I think it was 4.
4?
You got 6,
Let me see.
6, so you have like 3 years. So that would be
4 done in 2022, 7 in 2023, and 8 in 2024. So there are, and that's from an old inventory. I've got a lot. I know that those are the dates on them. We've got some other ones that are floating around, but
So you actually need 4
I
as soon as
actually need to
possible.
spend $10,000 on cylinders right away.
Well, if
There's
you-
half my budget gone.
I realize that, but you need those equipment to have the fire trucks up and going, so.
Yeah, now the other ones, like I said, if we were gonna buy some air packs, you could buy them in a capital purchase. I don't know, we've got to look at the air packs, but I know that we've got at least one that is hopefully being replaced, but there are others that probably aren't far behind, and whether they'll come due before this or not, I'm not sure, but.
I do have a question, actually. Is it unethical or is it uncommon to have a fundraiser for our fire department for some of these high purchases?
No, it's not unheard
So it is
of.
something we could do? Or maybe not we could do, but
It can be done.
It can be done. That's really my
It's done in
question.
other communities. You have to have a good way to raise money. I mean, St. Stephen does a bucket sit. They put a guy in a bucket
Okay,
for
yeah.
3 days, and they often raise, $15,000 or $16,000. But the firefighters tend to choose what they want to spend that on, and typically, it's not required equipment. And that's the way the firefighters think. The firefighters would tend to take that money and buy something. What would we never get if we waited for the town to buy us that we could use? Sometimes that becomes like an ATV, or in the past, we've bought a motor for the boat. We've bought things like, we wouldn't have that boat if it wasn't for money that the firefighters raise. We have to have PPE. This is part of our PPE, and typically the firefighters look at the government or the body that we work for. You got to provide us at least a PPE, right? Right?
that makes
I
sense.
have seen the St. Stephen toll.
Yeah.
The St. Stephen does a toll on the mall.
Yeah,
A couple of times when I was to shop there.
Yeah.
They were parking.
that's our bucket set, and then
Yeah.
that weekend we'll raise $15,000, $16,000, $17,000, and that they've bought a lot of good projects. They bought our gear washer. Spent $10,000 or $12,000 to buy that. They've bought a mule. They've bought trailer to haul the off-road rescue equipment in. Things that the rescue van that they bought that were things that the community would not have otherwise had. Whereas air packs, we kind of same with our our boots and coats and helmets and the trucks. We kind of rely on the town. That's your responsibility. You do that. We'll see what we can do for extras. Not to say that they wouldn't pitch in, but if it becomes the responsibility of the firefighters to go out and raise money for our PPE,
It's getting too much.
it's getting to be.
Yeah.
They're gonna say, "Oh, yeah, well,
Not
enough's
setting a
enough."
precedent.
You gotta look. You got to protect them. If nothing else, it's your responsibility to put
That's
me.
good, that's good
protect
information, though.
Okay.
This dunk.
Was that a fair
That's
statement?
that's actually very good information, for sure,
Okay.
because, the needs seem greater than the bucket of money, so it was just a thought.
Yeah, and it's, I can't say for sure, but I would say that value that we spend on equipment it's been pretty stagnant. That number, I don't know, you guys could look back and see what it is, but the cost of everything is going up, and
Yeah, that's
sometimes
part of
the
the
budgets
problem.
don't follow it. And, it's, if we didn't have to do any cylinder replacement this year, it'd be fine. But the problem is not every year, but every few years, you get into these cycles where now all of a sudden, you've got to replace a bunch of equipment. And in St. Stephen, we had 16 air packs and 48 cylinders come due, and we spent $250,000 to replace them in 1 year. So,
But you need it if you need the protection.
so you can, at least here, we've got them spread out. So there's two different ways of looking at it. You can go every 15 years and make a big capital purchase and be done with it, or you can try and spread it out and do some this year and some 5 years from now and some 5 years from now. You're gonna spend the same money in the long run, but how do you wanna do it? You wanna break it up in smaller chunks, or bite the bullet every 15 years?
Okay, thank you, Chief.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Building and planning report, oops. Glenn,
I have one question, I guess. The tanks that you have to buy, does each fire department buy them themselves, or does the province do a bulk purchase? It's all individual. So is there a way that the town could go to the province and get the province to buy 1,000 of these tanks and sell them to, they could probably get a huge discount for a bulk purchase? Anyway,
yeah.
We do it with some things, we've never been able to do it with cylinders. Forestry hose, and there are some things, but,
it should be able to be done. No, it's not your job. No. Okay.
Building and planning report.
That's part of what we talked about earlier, those 5 fire departments eventually should be bulk purchasing, and maybe you can lump with a couple other entities and say, listen, let's buy 3 times as many.
No, Glenn's idea is great. I mean, the province itself has a much more buying power if they know how many to buy and they make like a 1,000-cylinder purchase. That can certainly be more than buying 3 or 5 or.
You can probably get a 25% discount to go buy 1,000.
When we buy those, we tap into the province. The province every year puts out a bid or looks for a hose company, and we can tap into that. So we get bulk pricing if we're buying hose. There are some things you can do. Just at this point, cylinders isn't one of those because the province. We buy the hose through a DNR contract. DNR doesn't use cylinders, I guess, is the best way I could put that.
Okay, building and planning.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Vivian Pung. For those of you who have never met me, I'm the junior planner with the Southwest New Brunswick Service Commission, and I'm here today on behalf of Alex Henderson, our planning director, to give you the planning report. I have his report on my phone, so forgive me for looking down on my phone. It's been not a terribly busy month, so since the last reporting period, we had issued 1 building permit for an interior structural work to an industrial building, and the construction value of that is around $10,000. We have also issued a sign permit for a fascia sign. We've also issued a demolition permit on Riverview Avenue. And the important part of this report is that we have had 4 enforcement files since the last reporting period. And Alex has a note on his report saying that it has been a problem with enforcement because people seem to have the idea that they didn't need a permit for certain things. But the fact is that they actually do need a permit. And for some of the things like exterior staircase or some stuff that they thought would be minor, but it would be subject to some pretty serious like fire code, safety, like escape stuff, so the chief would understand. So, the important thing is just to have continued education to let people know that you do need to contact the service commission to, at least to ask if you need a permit or not. Don't just go ahead and do stuff without a permit. So that's that part. We've also been working on the new municipal plan for St. George. Council has received a presentation from Xander Gopin, I think, in the last council meeting. And if council wants to host a community open house on this background study, we can certainly do that as well. That's not something that's required from the Community Planning Act, but it's definitely a good practice to get the public more involved in this municipal plan drafting process. We've also received some feedback from council regarding the background study. That's obviously very, very, very appreciated. And if you have more comments or questions, feel free to direct it to us, and we'll be happy to answer those questions. We are on track to have the new plan done and adopted. The prospective timeline would be around July or August. And we'll have a transitional document for the post-reform in about 2023. So that's the end of my report. Do you have any questions?
Can I start?
Sure.
What is that post?
The post-reform?
Yes. What exactly is that? What exactly you're preparing for that?
Yeah, because after the reform, the entity will be having, multiple different former municipalities in rural areas. So there could be some new plans coming forward. It just depends on what the province requires in the form of planning or development. Like now, each municipality has its own planning document, its own zoning bylaws, its own building bylaws. When it all comes together, there might be new regulations coming, and we will be able to help in that transition period.
Okay. Questions? Okay. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Water insurance report, Jason.
Thank you, Worship. Water and wastewater report for the month of February. Average daily water consumption in February was 320,000 imperial gallons for a total of 8,456,200 imperial gallons. There was no total coliform or E. coli reported. Well levels are good. A three-quarter water lateral, I guess that's a three-quarter. I think I may have told council one time it might have been a 3-inch, but it's a three-quarter water lateral began leaking on the 24th at the Hillcrest Drive. This line was about 9 feet deep and had a hole in the side of the copper line. The line should be replaced in the near future, as these usually move along the line once they've had a leak. We had the line exposed for quite some time, so we didn't dare to keep the road closed any longer. The ground was saturated with water, so the digging was sloppy and dangerous. We installed a stainless steel repair clamp and buried it. Testing was carried out, no boil order was issued. Final report on the water tower should be available soon from the builder. The manufacturer reviewed the video taken last fall and have found no concerns with the walls of the tower. The next concern will be replace the sacrificial anodes at the bottom of the tank and the next steps in replacing them. This will mean shutting down the water tower, replacing the anodes, and cleaning and sanitizing the tank to return it to service. Town is being offered by the province to take part in early groundwater GUI study with 4 over 5 wells. These studies will be mandatory in the future. There is a chart just on the testing for the month of February. That's the wastewater report by Leonard Lee.
Questions?
Do you have a time frame when you're going to have to dig the Hillcrest Street back up again?
No time frame, but we'd want to do that probably late spring, because we want to certainly pave it when now the rest of the pavement's going on in town. So we'll certainly keep everyone in mind, because we'll have to do much the same that we did last time, shut down one portion of the road and sure
Yeah, we don't want to get them upset up there, do we?
No, sure that there's an alternative out, so, yeah.
How long do you have to shut the tower down? Is that a matter of hours or days?
It'll definitely be for most of the day. It takes a while to fill that tower
Does
back
that mean
up.
we don't have any water all day, or does that?
We'll start just with there'll be no reservoir, so it could affect some pressure,
Okay.
but it'll be a straight flow-through system, no reservoir.
Questions? I have a question. We received about a month and a half ago a letter or indication that our application for this EA and wells may have been approved. What has happened with that one?
So we did put an application in for a new production well relating to the industrial park expansion, as well as preliminary work with a new third lagoon, all relating to the industrial park expansion. So I contacted the province last week to see. We did seem to have some indication from the province that was approved, but it was approved on their side. So right now it's with the feds. They've had some different questions that we've answered. So again, it's back with the feds, questions relating to things such as environmental impact assessments and Aboriginal consultation that we'll have to do. So those have all been answered. So again, we're just waiting for the feds to approve the project 100% and start the preliminary work.
And tell us how much they're gonna give us.
Exactly. See what the I guess the coverages and the town portion would be.
Okay, thank you. Transportation report.
Thank you, Worship. So transportation report for the month of February. February was a busy month for plowing and salting. The salt consumption totaled 231.4 tons and 61.82 tons of sand. Vehicle maintenance included new tires for the 1 ton as well as a tailpipe for the 3 ton. Cutting edges were changed on most of the vehicles, including the backhoe snow and utility buckets. The conveyor chain was replaced on the 3 ton and a new exhaust manifold was replaced on the 1 ton. As well, the backup alarm was replaced on the 1 ton. Potholes are being filled as required. We are using a new product which is supposed to be a permanent solution. And the garbage cans, the few that were out have been continually dumped weekly. Christmas lights and banners were taken down at the first of the month. Ice was scraped from the South Street, where foundation drains were installed directly onto the sidewalk. So yeah, so we had some ice on some sidewalks. We are presently getting asphalt pricing for 6 areas for the 2022 season. Orientation was carried out for our newest casuals who is plowing with the 2 ton. We've recently submitted a video of the crew and snow clearing operations for the union to use in its next TV commercial segment. Transportation report from Leonard Lee.
Is that about on budget for the salt and the sand, or is that above normal?
It's above budget.
Way above?
Not too much. No, we've pretty much used our salt budget as of, is that last week? Last month? Yeah. January, yeah.
So we can't have any more snow, is that what you're saying?
So we're hoping that we don't have to use any more salt, yeah.
Okay.
Some years are better than others. We've had
Yeah,
2 or
we've had
3
one,
years last
yeah.
year that have been pretty good. This year, not. So.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay.
TV commercial, that sounds fun.
Yeah, yeah.
So is that gonna be like on regular TV or just
I'm
on
not
the?
sure. It
you
would
don't-
be
you don't have
the
the
union.
details?
The union reps would be part of that. So yeah, stay tuned. I guess maybe on CTV.
I missed the point. Well,
It's
that's
the
question.
union. The union
The
will have an
commercial.
advertisement
Tell me.
featuring some of our people.
Oh, the union is gonna have an advertisement about?
They're union members and featuring some of our workers here in St.
Okay,
George.
okay. That, which union is that? Which,
The local union syndicate, public workers, outside workers.
so it's public, okay.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yep.
That's publicity for St. George. Okay, bills paid and payable, in principle, February 28, $246,192. I'll give you 1 minute to see what questions you have.
Salt and sand, okay.
Any questions?
Yes, I have a couple. On page 1 of page 3, what is number, the last 3 numbers, 6630, Amazon shop supplies? What was that for?
Amazon shops. 1 of 3. Amazon, it was 42.
I
Is
know
that the
it
one
was-
where Amazon is 42.54?
No, it's the one for 3124. I know it's not a lot, but At one of our council meetings, I had suggested that we stop purchasing stuff from Amazon and try to buy it local. So what shop supply did they have to get from Amazon that they couldn't get local?
Metal bead line.
Huh?
It's a metal bead line, like you find on the end of banker's chains.
So they couldn't get that local? Okay. And then there was, Amazon again, library barcode scanner. I mean, the library needs it, that's fine. But why are we keep purchasing stuff from Amazon when I asked for us to start shopping local? Because that was, I know it's not much, $42.54, but we might have been able to get it local and help our businesses here. So why did we have to purchase it through Amazon? That's my
But where
question.
would we, I guess the barcode scanner is not something we would buy local. So certain items, like, if they're auto parts or something, anything we can get at a hardware store, we typically will, but, when they're electronics, like, for example, we bought some audio cables offline as well. So things like
see
that
that.
we can't really get local.
You could go to St. John or Fredericton or Moncton than Amazon. Like we've got to
And
start.
some of those sellers are on Amazon as well. So we do get free shipping too, and I guess
But that's not the point though. The point is, we should be supporting New Brunswick if we want to keep businesses in New Brunswick. But every time you purchase something through Amazon, that's not keeping businesses in New Brunswick. That's my biggest issue. We should be shopping New Brunswick. What if you got something and it didn't work and you had to ship it back? I know the trouble you go through. That's why I stopped buying from Amazon. You've got to really start looking around towns to make sure we can get the product here before we go outside. That's my issue.
Okay, another third question? Third line item? Brenda? No? No. Okay, start from that side.
On page 1 of 5, we have the Grand Hooper Electric, $3,066.42. It says streetlight repairs, and of course, some of it is for the well number 4. That's streetlight repair. Is that just a basic maintenance, or was that part of the accident?
They're for the clamshells of the Main Street poles that we have. So we looked at trying to get those from a company in St. John that we were able to get through the electrician's distributor. We were able to get it for half price. So that he bought them. We paid what he paid for them.
Okay, so the clamshell was damaged?
Yes. Well, typically they will get damaged each year with plowing or salt. I think those ones were stock. We usually try to keep a couple in stock. So.
Sorry, what's a clamshell? It's on the base of the...
Yeah, those the poles on Main Street come apart. There's a steel pole, but the bottom part, the decorative piece is a clamshell, goes together. Yeah.
And then as we move down, we see Vance's Garage and they use tires for vehicle number 2. Is that part of its inspection, or did something happen to the tires?
No, yeah, just wear, just general wear. We inspect every month our vehicles,
Oh, I see, okay.
just for safety. So usually within those, that's how we know that we've got something wrong.
The impact wrench, $860.20. How often would we use that?
I mean, I don't know if it's a regular type of thing, but it's something that you typically will need. So it could be maybe once even a month to use it, so.
Okay.
Any other question? Okay, I need a motion for approving the bills and payable for $246,192.52.
I so moved.
All in favor? New business. Jason added here the commercial municipal plan. I understand there were some comments already sent and communicated to to the Service Commission. What you had to add there, Jason?
I guess, just for council, if there's any other comments that the council would like to add, we're certainly in that mode at this point. I think that, though it's maybe not a requirement to have a sort of a public hearing or a public open house on it, I think that's probably something we could certainly arrange. So, it's perhaps something that, if council wishes, we could arrange something like that for the month of April. Just have an open house to see if there's any other further input. You would normally do that with most bylaws anyways. So, I guess if it's council's wishes to have an open house, we can certainly do that.
I understand that we're gonna have another hearing anyways, right?
We would, yes, with the zoning amendments.
Yeah, so potentially you can combine them,
We can.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So basically you need guidance from us on that, you need a motion, what do you
I
need?
guess if it's everyone's wishes to have to add that to the public
Yeah.
hearing that would be related to the zoning amendments, we
Yeah.
can certainly do that, if council
I-
feels that they want to do that.
I'm okay with that.
So we'll have a
Yeah,
motion and a second.
I would make
Yeah.
the motion to have an open house for the municipal
Yeah.
plan background.
And I'll second that.
Second it, and all in favor?
Aye.
So we're looking at April, you're saying?
What we'll do is we'll add it with the public hearing. I think once we do the public hearing for the amendments, and that will probably be, we're in March, so it would be before the third and final reading, so it'd be April, yes.
Okay. Well-filled groundwater under the direct influence study, Goody study. Jason?
Yes, Your Worship. So as mentioned in the water and wastewater report, this is basically a groundwater under the direct influence study, so a Goody. This is being, I guess, started by the province. This is going to be a requirement for all potable water certification. So part of a certification that all the wells will have to go through is this study every 10 years. It's going to focus on the impacts of groundwater on wells. We've never had any of these studies done, and sort of because we have a number of wells here in St. George, and discussions that we've had on potential another production well, this is when this was added into conversation. So right now there is ETF funding that will give us up to about 75% for this study now. So I guess the thing is we don't know what the future holds. Maybe when this is mandatory, there may not be any funding for this. But right now the Environmental Trust Fund, that funding stream right now will allow these studies to happen and be partially funded. So that is a good news thing. It's 75%. Remaining costs will be associated with water engineering, water study from the 2022 budget. And I think as of right now, as of right now, it's it's going to be, I think there was, it's going to be about $2,000 or so in that will be on the town portion
The study.
for the study, yes.
Is that per well or just?
For the whole study, for
Overall.
all the wells, yeah. So the four wells, the newest well that we have, well number 6, because it's so new, it won't be part of the study. They need 5 years of production data on the well in order to do the study. So we wouldn't have that yet.
So I can understand, this study, does it venture into the aquifer characteristics, size, capacity, or is, like, what exactly we are getting for this $10,000 that we spent?
It will look at, I guess, the topograph of the well area and any type of influence from storm drains, like sewage, or I shouldn't say sewage, like any road water that would come into the wells. So it's, I'm not a pro at doing the study. I guess if it did,
So it's a
probably-
contamination evaluation potential type of
Yes.
study?
That's one of the main parts of this, is to look for possible contamination, especially when it comes to be potable water, to ensure that there's no risk. So, where I'm just as curious to see what the report will come back, or the study will come back to say.
It's bloody expensive.
It is,
Like
yeah.
for actually doing a chemical analysis of the water, $8,000 per well is a lot of money. Just wondering what we are getting out of it.
I can certainly give you more details. I don't have the full, what we're gonna actually get from the study. I can certainly provide that.
Can I ask you, all the municipalities do that, or?
No, this is something new, but this will be a requirement for municipal water systems.
Have you talked to, say, St. Andrews, St. Stephen, St. John?
No, I mean, I guess besides telling them that, hey, there's a goodie, I don't think it's my place to talk to the municipality and say you're gonna be required to do some of these studies in the future and maybe get on it now. No, I don't. I haven't gone to any other municipalities.
I just wonder, because if that has been proposed, because you learned this thing because you received a letter. If that was proposed to us, it was probably proposed to all the others.
Possibly. I mean, this came out through a lot of discussions that we've had about not only well 6, but also our potential well 7 production well. So, I've been communicating with the province on wells over the last few months fairly frequently. So, I think it mostly came out of those type of discussions. I can't speak for the province and what.
How much time we have to defer the decision on that one?
Environmental trust fund, I don't, as with anything to do with federal intake, that sometimes changes quickly. I guess this is what it is this month. It could change next month. There's no closing.
I don't have any question or any proposal. I don't think you have any proposal or question about it.
It looks like something that's gotta be done, so.
I'm not sure about that. This is what I'm trying to find out. I mean, that's a question that I
It says
asked.
it will become mandatory in the coming 1 to 2 years.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So we don't have to actually, yeah.
So we can certainly table this to April. I can then reach out to
You
the
can do some
province
research. You can do
and
some
gather
additional
some
research.
information.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
But
that's
is
fair.
there a deadline for the funding?
There is. I mean, it is now, I guess.
Yeah.
We are in the month of March.
Yeah.
I guess I can't speak on when federal intake changes. That could change at any time, and then I guess at that point we'll then say we won't do it. We'll wait until it's mandatory, and then see what happens then. I mean, I guess if we missed it, I'm not overly concerned with it. When they do force new testing, a lot of times there is funding that becomes available. Not every municipality has the ability to,
Like we can start with Black's Harbor, right? To learn what's going on there.
Yeah.
Just to actually
Yeah.
calibrate ourselves with what other municipalities are doing.
right, yeah.
So
So we have to apply for the funding, and the funding date is coming up. Should we
I've
apply?
already applied for it.
You've already
yeah,
applied for it?
Just to
Okay.
sort of beat us to the punch.
Right. And that way
So that-
there, we'll at least know if we got funding for it.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't want to lose any time,
Yeah.
so.
So based on the report, it's $13,000 for the four wells.
Yeah.
And well number 6, our newest well, is exempt for this run, right?
Yeah.
But at 75%, when I do my calculations, it comes out to about $3,200 per well, rather than just the 2,000. So that does add up a little bit.
What's the 75% of,
75% of 13,000 is 9,750.
it leaves us three?
That leaves you 3,250 is what leaves us to pay. So I guess my question is, so we have to stay on top of this, because will well number 6 will it have to do its goodie at its 10th year? Which would be only 8 years from now.
It will probably have to do it on its 5th year, because they get 5 years of data. So once it's 5 years old, by that point, the goodie study will probably be mandatory. So we'll have
Okay,
to do it at that point.
so if they find something wrong with our wells, what is our course of action there?
To remediate any issues, I guess,
But that takes money again.
It would probably take money again, but I guess I'd rather know that if we have something wrong with our potable water, we probably want to know about it.
Yeah,
You know, I guess where this is a sort of a newer program and, you know, for the requirements of the study, then I'm sure there's gonna be a lot of eyes that are in on this now, right?
Okay.
So.
Yeah, I wonder if there is anything that we can pass on to the Service Commission to actually check on that.
Service Commission doesn't have water.
It does not have quota, they don't, are not getting involved with environmental or whatever contamination things. Okay.
Yeah, no.
Okay. Okay, let's revisit it. You made the application? You
Yeah,
made the application,
application's in.
so,
I mean, we're approved on the application, we just would need to go ahead with it. But I can certainly get more data, you know, on really the scope of it and get
Yeah.
that to council.
and what others are doing. I mean, if, just by talking to your
Yeah.
counterparts, you know, just,
Yeah, I mean, I don't wanna, I mean, I'm not gonna go speak on behalf of the province, but I'll certainly, I can certainly ask a few different municipalities, so,
Yeah.
you know.
okay. I'll move to the 9C, Introduction and Resolution of Council on first reading by title only. Bylaw 25B, 2202, an amendment to zoning bylaw 25B. Jason?
So this is an amendment to the zoning bylaw. So there was just, council's been provided a planning report, which Vivian can speak on. But the main purpose of this amendment is to deal with the freestanding sign within the zoning bylaw for the town. So right now we have a sign, a number of signs in St. George that are in general commercial. That would be in non-compliance with the zoning bylaw. They're over 5 meters. So this amendment would bring them into compliance. You know, for example, well, I'm not going to get into 2 examples of where some of those are, but we do have right now, off the top of my head, there's 3 of those signs that are in general commercial that would exceed what's legal conforming, I guess. So, Vivian, if you want to add some more data to that.
Sure, yeah. If council wants, I can certainly quickly walk you through this specific proposal to give you some information to help you consider this file. Essentially, we got an application from the Irving gas station to alter their existing freestanding sign. And it just so happens that that sign is non-conforming. So like Jason just mentioned, the property is in C3 general commercial zone, and that zone does not allow a freestanding sign. So the sign is just there, not conforming to the bylaw. And based on what's required by the zoning bylaw, it says it's fine for it to just be there as non-conforming. But once you want to move it, once you want to alter it or do something to it, it has to be brought up to standard. And that's why they need a text amendment to do that. And in this proposed text amendment, it essentially has 3 parts. The first part is to add C3 in the freestanding section so that, you know, you can have a freestanding sign in the C3 section. And the second part of the amendment is essentially increasing the dimensional requirements a little bit, like Jason said, just to make sure that this sign, once it's altered, it's still conforming to the requirements in the bylaw. And the third part of this amendment is technically a little like administrative amendment. It has nothing to do with the Irving proposal. It's just like a typo that we found in that section. And, you know, since we're already working in this section, we could just address it, you know, at the same time. So this is essentially what's encompassed in this application. And staff is aware that this whole freestanding sign section needs some housekeeping work as well. But we are only focusing on what this Irving sign application will be subject to at this moment. If council want, we can address this whole section as a separate item, but since we are already working on the new municipal plan, the new zoning bylaw, we could do that in that process as well. So, you know, that's happening very soon. There's no necessity to make this whole flip up of this section right now. We can just wait till zoning bylaw revision. So that's essentially
Is
it.
there any specific proposal right now where they want to actually change that sign next month?
They do have
Yeah,
they
they
do have
will.
a proposal then to change that sign. Yes, they do.
They gave, so you have an application,
Yeah.
Yeah.
construction permit, whatever it's called, to actually do the thing ASAP now, I mean,
Yes.
will you approve it, okay?
Yeah, so in the planning report, if you flip to the very back of it, there's like a before and after picture comparison of the new and existing signs. Essentially, they want to change, I think, one sign face, and they want to add an LED screen to the existing sign. So it's a pretty major change. And it's also part of their national rebranding of the Circle K convenience. So it's, it's happening all over Canada. It's not just this specific store.
Looks like it's gonna be easier for them to change the price of gas, and it goes up and down every week.
Yeah, it'll be easier.
punch it-
It will be a
punch it in on the
screen. Yeah,
digital.
Yeah, exactly. It'll be more visible too.
My only concern, which I had already communicated to Jason, is that when we do this change, it's nice to know how many signs are in non-compliance right now, and which other properties which are not a C3 may be affected as a, grandfathered or whatever you want to call it. Obviously, we have to actually deal with the application for the construction. Can you deal with the application for the construction permit without changing the bylaw?
No, unfortunately. So, like I said, this property is zoned C3, and that zone just does not allow a freestanding sign. So there's no way we can do a variance or, other ways to allow it to happen. It's just not allowed based on what the zoning bylaw is saying right now. So it has to go through a text amendment, at least to allow a freestanding sign in the C3 zone first.
Okay.
And there are a couple of other freestanding signs in C3 zones in this town. So this amendment will not only help this property, it will also help some other existing non-conforming signs in town.
Okay. Anybody has any other question before we? No? Okay, I'd like to have a motion about passing on the first reading? That's first reading, right? First reading.
Yep, it'll be, council wishes that just a resolution on the first reading, just by the title only,
Yeah.
for 25B-2202.
Can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we do the first reading by title only of bylaw 25B-2202.
Seconded?
I'll second it.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Item 9D on the agenda, resolution of council on second reading in its entirety of bylaw 25B 2202 and amendment of zoning bylaw 25B. Jason?
Yes, Your Worship, so this is the, by its entirety of second reading. So it'd be it enacted that the council of the town of St. George as follows, section 9.3.1, .2.1 is amended to read, freestanding or directory signs are permitted in the L1 light industrial, institutional, and C3 general commercial zones, provided that no sign exceeds a maximum height of 8 meters. B, no sign exceeds a maximum size of 6 meters in the sign area per sign facing for the single business property, and 10 meters in the sign area per sign face of the multiple business property. C, no more than one freestanding or directory sign shall be permitted for every 3 meters of lot frontage, and no sign extend beyond the street right-of-way line at the outermost point of the sign.
I have a question for the second reading.
Okay.
You're talking about some extreme heights here, like a 30 feet, 10 meters, 10 meters. Where these numbers are coming from? Like, should be, does Irving wants to put a 10-meter sign somewhere?
No, I mean, it's 8 meters, it'd be exceeding of the height, right?
Yeah,
8 meters.
So it can be up to 8 meters.
It'd be up to 8 meters.
Yeah, so 8 meters is
26 feet.
26.3 feet.
26.3 feet.
Yes. So is the application for the construction any
That's-
comparable to that?
We have 8-meter signs in general
Oh, we
commercial
do?
right now.
We do, okay, that's another.
That's why that,
Okay, thank you.
that's why we
Thank
picked that.
you. Thank you.
So anything highway commercial would be 10 meters. So they're permitted 10 meters. So general commercial would be 8.
Okay, thank you. So can I have a motion for, any questions, first of all?
I'll make the motion that we do the second reading in its entirety for bylaw 25B-202 in the amendments of zoning bylaw 25B.
All in favor?
Aye.
All business, none. Correspondence. Letter from Sally and Billy Duncan.
So, Your Worship, just with distributed to council, a letter from Mr. and Mrs. Duncan from Campbell Hill Road, just regards to speeding in town of St. George.
I heartily agree with everything they say, since I nearly get hit every day when I walk.
Any comments from the councillors?
I agree with Mrs. Duncan. There is speeding through the whole town, and it is a big issue. We've discussed it, and I agree with them. There's nothing we really can do about it, and we tried to get the RCMP to stop people in that, but it's out of our hands. We're not police officers or anything, but I do agree there is too much speeding in our town.
Let me start from that side.
I do agree, it's not just Riverview Avenue, and I know that, you know, the squeaky wheel perhaps gets the grease, I understand that concept, but, you know, speed calming on our streets is, I think, our responsibility as a town and a community, and this is not gonna go away, whether we just accept the fact that the RCMP may not be doing what we think they should be doing. There are some things that we can do as a community, and we should reconsider some of those in the future.
Thank you.
May I?
Yes,
Oh, yeah,
sir.
I just want to add something. So like in the municipal plan, it actually mentions the fact that speeding is a problem in our community. And I think the Duncans are, like they point out something that's pretty much the obvious. There's a problem with speeding in our town. I would just like to say though, I think like having one speed radar is better than having nothing. And I remember Councillor Armstrong had mentioned that, and also David Armstrong had mentioned the fact that these can be used to like mitigate incidents of speeding. So that's just my comment. But I appreciate the her view, of course.
Deputy Mayor?
Indulge me for a minute. We've all been shocked and saddened by what's happening in Ukraine, and already nearly 3 million people have fled their homes with nothing more than a suitcase. And seeing bewildered little children crying and older people being pushed across the border in wheelbarrows and shopping carts reduces many of us to tears. And that's why a group of us from throughout Entity 53 and the Multicultural Association of Charlotte County got together last week to plan a night for Ukraine, which will be held here in Magadavic Place on Tuesday, March 22nd from 4:30 to 6:30. We'll be having a variety supper, that's a posh name for a potluck, as well as a single-serve takeout lasagna, a silent auction, and a 50-50 draw, with all the proceeds going to humanitarian efforts in Ukraine. We're reaching out to people asking them to either donate something for the supper, an item for the silent auction, or simply show up. We're asking for donations at the door. Several of my council colleagues have already offered to help, and I thank them for that. If anyone needs any further information, they can contact me. We can't be on the front lines, but we can do our little bit to help out in this crisis. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. This is an important point. So I just want to go back to the letter, Jason. I have one point. Did you initiate any sort of scheduling of getting a sign from Service Commission?
We haven't as of yet, no.
We should do that.
Yeah,
I think we should do
you know, we typically will start doing that in the springtime, look ahead for the whole season. So we're at that point now.
We're at that point now, yes, so we should try to actually get it. Are they here? No. If we can get and keep it as long as possible, and move it in a couple of places to get more data. That's an important thing.
Yeah, and certainly, open to any counselors, that want to add certain streets, by all means.
Yeah, Mount Pleasant is obviously one.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Brunswick Street, yeah,
Lateef Road?
Yeah, Deep Road.
yeah. So, I mean, we don't have shortage of place to put it.
No,
So, yeah. Okay, I'm gonna move to public presentation appearances. Okay. Statement by members of council. Deputy Mayor, you made your statement?
I just made that.
Okay.
Get the word out.
Yeah, well, that's yeah, you can even repeat it after, when it goes around. Brenda, do you have any statements?
Well, I have something to say, and you might not like it, but at our last council meeting, you said something that was not appropriate to me, and a lot of people heard it, being on TV and that, and I feel that you owe me an apology for saying that I need help.
I am shocked.
You had no right
Yes.
to say that I need help. You're not a professional, you're not a doctor. And for you to come out and say that, that was embarrassing and it hurt. You might talk to other people like that, but you're done talking to me like that. You owe me an apology,
Thank you, Brenda.
and that's all I have to say.
Thank you very much. Councillor Rubin.
Okay, in regards to Chief Morton's comments about the life cycle of the fire department, I don't see any changes there. You're probably right in saying 2 to 3 years at least. I think things will keep going the way they are going for the time being. Capital purchases is the only way you're gonna get air packs and a lot of bottles. I don't see that happening. We have a short lifetime council. And that requires borrowing money, as you know, and it's quite a major purchase. Something that you need, you have to have the air bottles. According to WorkSafe, you gotta have all that stuff. That's a no-brainer, you gotta have it. In regards to Brunswick Street cleanup, that's being done so it can be presented in an RFP to actually show the size of the property that's there to be used in the RFP. That's one of the reasons that's being done. Not a bad idea. Not a bad idea. There's the paving projects, we've got to look at those and make some decisions. Like I say, the prices are just going up and down, pretty consistent. They're just fluctuating a lot. In regards to the Transition Advisory Committee, it's not open to the public. It's open to the membership that are on it. We can keep you updated as best we can. Up to this point, not a lot of decisions. The boundary lines are still not clear. The wards, not known. The amount is close. The name, it's just like on a treadmill. You're not getting anywhere. The answers just aren't coming. And the time frame is quick for whatever reason. I don't know why, but it is. And that's about all I have at that point.
Thank you. Councillor Colton.
I'll try to be very brief.
Yeah.
I agree with Sam about the fire department and things that are happening with our local reform, and I just wanted to ask for council to meet with me sometime within the next week about our summer festival. Have a lot of interest, a lot of volunteers. Contrary to popular belief, people are actually giving ideas, and I would just like to talk with the council members at some point in time to bring you up to speed.
Okay.
And that's all I've got to say.
So Jason can help us with scheduling it.
Jason will help us with scheduling?
With scheduling, putting a day, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
I'm gonna start from the other side.
I just feel like, that we just need to keep pushing forward and advocate for those things that we believe in. As far as the reform goes, I recognize that it's not open for the public, Councillor Rubin, but I feel that as councillors that we should be able to have the opportunity to be informed about how those meetings are transpiring and how they are going. And I personally have not received very much information and feel that I need to. Well, I just feel whatever there is, I'd like to see it. And, you know, with Barb, I stand with her in support of the Ukraine people and what they're being forced to endure at this time. And I will meet with Councillor Colton in regard, I know, let's look at her again. Councillor Colton in regards to our Summerfest. We did get an email, did everyone get one in regards to?
St. George Day.
Yeah, St. George Day? Is that something that we should?
I sent an email out to everyone and said, did you have, or to everyone, to the council members, and saying, if you had any suggestions, let me know, that we were going to call it St. George Family Fun Days, and we thought that it would be the third week in July. And from there, I had asked if anybody had any suggestions or whatever, or
I think Councillor Armstrong's reversing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I think what you were talking about, Councillor Armstrong, was about the St. George Days that are happening in April.
Yes.
Is that the one you're talking about?
Yes, that's the one I'm
Okay.
talking about. I just got the
Okay.
email this evening, yes.
Yes,
And-
from Mr. Holmes.
Yes.
Yes.
And just, I guess I wasn't quite familiar on what that was. And is that something that we would entertain in terms of, is there something we need to do for that?
Flag up.
A flag up?
We put St. George's flag up.
Okay. Okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't see that email yet. My
Yeah.
computer is having a sleeping session. Oh, thank you.
Well, you okay?
Missed her.
Yeah. So this is also related to Summerfest or St. George Family Fun Day. So in the last council meeting, I asked the council to consider giving a portion of the funds that would typically be allocated for the festival and giving it to the St. George Elementary School playground. And I'm going to ask council to consider this again. I know last summer our festivities was last minute. And I believe we did that for about 10,000, if I correct, like above, maybe just like slightly above 10,000. And our budget is 20,000. So I think it's reasonable and worthwhile for us to donate a portion of it to something meaningful and as a long-term investment. With the amalgamation, there are a lot of questions, and we don't know what kind of like representation we're going to get. So this is a clear area that needs some tender love. So I think that's something that we should consider.
Tender love for what?
The playground. The playground needs some,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Thank you. And
I jumped the gun, so it's all right. You tell me all about the
no,
summer.
it's
I thought you were coming.
yeah. I guess I had one point to make, but Brenda kind of reminded me that it's very important to try to keep the procedures here civil and try to adhere to some rules which, when they are broken, they require people to actually be reminded that they have to review these rules. And one of them is that emails exchanged in confidence with the other council members should not be brought up in council, particularly changed to put words on someone's mouth that have not been said. And if the councillors need training on that matter, I mean, I'm sure Jason can actually help us. The second thing I want to bring up is the issue of amalgamation. I had a brief interview today with the local paper, Telegraph Journal, about how we are proceeding. And I just want to reiterate what has been already said, that the idea that we are engaging in this exercise and negotiating with the province is inaccurate. We are there, and we are continuously lectured about what we can and what we cannot do. And to put it in a very crude language, it's a case of actually choosing beans on a square plate or beans on a round plate, but we're going to have beans. The issue of the name is very controversial. a lot of people around the table suggested that we use the same name that the deputy mayor has used in her yellow
Area
thing.
53 was.
Yeah. Apparently this has been shot out so far. I don't know if they're gonna have a change of mind. But anyways, we are proceeding with the discussions about that. So I just want to actually, because I'm getting people saying that we don't inform them about the negotiations that are going on and our positions and why we don't consult. And so far there is no consultation. There is more getting informed about what are the options that we must adhere to. And hopefully in the next, I guess, month or so, we may have a bit more that we can share. And when we are in a position to do that, we certainly will do. And that's all that I have to say for today. With that said, I'm going to ask for a motion to adjourn.